Hello, everyone. I didn't really have anything prepared today or written out. I just wanted to speak off the cuff and talk about something that I witnessed this weekend. I don't think it's something that people realize they do. I don't think it was done intentionally, but it was done over the course of years. And I thought, oh boy, I hope that's not something I do. And witnessing this really made me pay attention to my own behavior. So let's get into it. I went to a funeral, and the lady that passed away was in her mid-70s, and her mother is 90. I've gotten friendly with her mother over the years. Over the past couple of years, as I had conversations with this elderly lady, she would often tell me about her daughter's struggles. Her daughter had an inoperable brain tumor. Having a family member with a brain tumor years ago who passed away, I could totally relate. And she was very worried about her daughter all the time. And she would tell me things like her daughter would try to get out of bed and fall. Her daughter would get so dizzy she would fall, things like that. And I said, wow, that must be really hard because then she's not even able to drive or anything. How does she get around? Because she's a very independent lady, so I knew she was still driving. And I thought maybe she had stopped driving considering the dizzy spells and all that. And her elderly mother just said, oh, she plows through it. If she has to go somewhere, she does. She'll come up to my house and she'll take us to lunch. She'll go to the grocery store and take me shopping. And she did do a lot for her elderly mother, but it was becoming more infrequent. Over the course of 2 years, it actually kind of slowed down. Instead of coming up every Saturday to her mother's house, she started trickling in like monthly or even every other month. And her mother noticed because it was breaking her mother's heart. Being that she was 90, she felt very close to her daughter as if they were best friends. And she often referred to her daughter as her rock. And she told me, I don't know what I would do without her. She keeps me going. And it was a sad shame when she passed away. However, I was sitting at the funeral Saturday next to the elderly mother. And I looked over to my left because I didn't see this giant picture there before. You know how they blow up big, huge pictures of people at funerals and to honor them and their memory. And I hadn't noticed it when I walked in. There were a bunch of people, though, standing up front, so they were probably blocking my view, I guess. I just didn't notice. And when I turned and I saw the picture, it was shocking to me because I had met her once years ago and I haven't seen her since. So when I saw her picture, she really, really looked very ill, very, very sick. It was so striking to me. Even though I didn't know her well, it still really hit me hard. And especially to be sitting right next to her mother, I was wondering, did her mother see the photo? Did her mother know about the photo? Because she wasn't the one that actually made the plans for all of this. But then they started playing a scrolling video blog on the television there. So that was up in the corner of the room where everybody could see it. And everybody was watching it, and I was amazed. This woman, even though she was quite sickly, especially the past 2 years, she was sicker and sicker. She made every moment count. So that was the first thing I noticed about this woman's life. She literally made everything count in her life. She didn't miss anything. She didn't miss going out for drinks with friends. She didn't miss, her annual get-together with girlfriends that she worked with. She missed nothing. She went on multiple cruises. She went on multiple vacations. I was really amazed because I thought if I was so sick, if I was struggling with fatigue and dizziness, which I have had in the past over the course of a few years with different medical issues, I can't imagine even being able to travel like that. I was amazed, I was grateful, and I was happy to see that she really spent the rest of her entire life enjoying it. It was profound to me. And when I looked at her elderly mother sitting there, the mother had looked away. The mother had looked away from the celebratory photos scrolling on that television, and she looked at me and she had sadness in her eyes. And I thought, well, if that was my daughter's life scrolling by, I'd be pretty sad too, even though she's 90, it's still her daughter. And I thought, I would be a total blubbering mess sitting here if it was my daughter, and this lady really sat there as strong as an ox, just taking it on her shoulders, didn't shed a tear, but you could tell she was harboring such intense feelings. I learned after that this elderly woman never knew her daughter. She thought she knew her daughter. She thought she and her daughter were best friends. She thought her daughter was her rock. She never knew the activity level of her daughter or the celebrations the daughter held in her life, or any of the traveling, or any of the parties, or any of the people that she went out with. She had never even known her daughter's friends. She was introduced at the funeral. She never knew them. She didn't even know of them. And that was very sad to me, that this woman who was 90 years old didn't know her daughter at all, but really thought of her as her rock. Where you think you know a person, but you don't. You don't know them at all. And I would be devastated if I thought I knew somebody and then found out at a funeral that I knew nothing about them. And I just sat back and thought, wow, she had this whole other life and you weren't a part of it. I don't want to think that she intentionally excluded her mother, but it surely seemed like it from what the mother had always told me about her daughter and what I saw in the photos of this woman celebrating life every single day, making the most of her life every single day. And to that I applaud, but at the same time, I can see the intense despair and I can see the intense disappointment and sadness in her mother as well. Probably feeling like, why wasn't I included in at least one or two of those things? And so my message here today, I guess, is if you have a relationship with your folks and they're elderly, you don't have to bring them over to every single party you have. You don't have to invite them out with your drinking buddies. You don't have to make them a part of your annual cruise. But you know what? They would get intense enjoyment just hearing about it. This poor woman had never even heard about any of these activities that this woman did. And I think that was the devastating part. I highly doubt this 90-year-old would have jumped a plane, and gone to Cozumel 3 times a year. I highly doubt she would have gotten on a cruise and sailed to the Bahamas. However, I can only imagine the joy she would have received hearing about, even though her daughter was so sickly, she was still enjoying every moment of her life. Elderly people have a way of sharing their life stories with us, and they tell us these things, and they pass them down from generation to generation. But we don't often think of them with our own lives, and we don't often think to tell them our stories. So I would say today, if you have a relationship with your parents, call them up, give them a kiss over the phone, give them a hug. If you can see them in person, even better. But don't forget they exist, and don't forget who they are. And include them where you can. Even if they can't make your Sunday pot roast, tell them about it. Tell them how you made it. Let them have that proud mama or papa moment where they're excited for you. Thanks for watching. Take care.